you can launch the YouTube live stream.
I think now we are live. You can start.
All right, welcome YouTube to our discussion. I will turn on my video shortly. I'm looking for a stand to put the phone. But in the meantime, we can still begin. My name is Dorcas, and I am a leader at Skeptics and Atheists Society of Kenya. Our topic today is mystical experiences or religious experiences. Initially, we had titled the flyer Mysticism, but I decided not to restrict it to that level. Let's just have it as mystical experiences or religious experiences. Now, the following outline will guide our discussion. We are going to begin with the definition, of course. Of course, if people don't understand what they're talking about, then what is the point of the discussion? So we'll have a definition of what is a mystical experience and what are some characteristics. Then after that, we are going to go to the types of mystical experiences. Generally speaking, they fall into one of two categories. It can be a private mystical experience or a group mystical experience or a corporate mystical experience. Then we are going to look at, and then now under each, there are many other examples like conversion experiences, visions, near-death experiences, worship, tongue speaking, etc. So that's the second subtopic. The third one will be, can you induce them through religious rituals? Can you induce mystical experiences through religious rituals or any other rituals that you know of? And then the fourth thing we'll talk about are the positive effects of mystical experiences. Yes, we need to be objective. If there's any positive, let's address it. Then we look at the negative effects. And finally, perhaps most importantly, does a religious experience prove God? If not, then what are some natural or scientific explanations for mystical experiences? So those are the subtopics. There are 6 of them. We'll try and go chronologically, but if people tend to move to one side, it's okay. We will we'll switch to that. And I'm trying to turn on my video now. Yeah, it's on. So yeah, those are the subtopics that will guide us. And I just needed to give a context on why I picked this topic, because I was the one that suggested it. Everybody is free to suggest a topic, but please, besides chatting me or anyone from the events team, like Eston or Morioki or Juliana, if you have a topic suggestion. So this time I'm the one that suggested it. Why did I choose it? Because many believers say that they cannot leave religion because they had a personal experience with God. A personal experience, a mystical experience with God. So you can give your arguments, you can talk about the immorality of the Old Testament, You can go philosophical on them. You can mention the ontological argument, the cosmological argument, how unscientific the Bible is. You can mention all those things. You can talk about the contradictions in the Bible. But somebody will tell you, me, I had a personal encounter with God. I saw him. I experienced him. So there's nothing you can tell me. Yeah. Now, that's what we are going to address today. Somebody who belongs to that school of thought, who claims that they had a personal encounter with God or with the divine. Right? That's the background. So let's proceed to the first subtopic, which is the definition and some possible traits of a mystical experience. What do we understand by that? And feel free to Google. It's not like we are giving you marks. Feel free to Google what is a mystical experience, what's the definition, and what are some characteristics of a mystical experience. Don't feel shy. Please raise your hand. Great, I see Chilwave. Yes, Chilwave, go ahead.
I think a mystical experience is anything that is supernatural and mysterious. So by mysterious, I mean not well understood.
Yes, yes. You have it there. You have elements of it. It's not well understood. It's an encounter with the supernatural. Great. What about you, Morioki? What do you think?
I think I'll go back to the topic we discussed in the video shoot about why people won't leave religion. Just a comment, like if something bad happens to these people who are religious, they'll still say God is in control. So no matter how bad the situation, they'll say, it's God's plan, whatever. So they hold on to religion because no matter the situation, God is still in control. Yeah, just a comment. So it's hard to do because whether good or bad, they still say it's God's plan. So we'll hold on to religion. Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true, Morioki. However, you have still not defined the term. What is your understanding?
Something happens. Yeah, something happens that you can't explain it. So you say it's something done by somebody, some mystical power, something either you can't see or something hiding somewhere that is in control. It's there, but you can't see it. That's what it means. Yeah, there's something invisible in control. Yes, there's something invisible in control. Yeah, thanks.
Aha, something happened. So, okay, Morioki and Chilwave somehow are alluding to the definition. Is there any other person who would like to add to the definition before I give mine? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So I will give my definition so that we know what we are talking about. A mystical experience is a profound, transformative encounter characterized by a sense of unity or oneness with something beyond the ordinary, often described as spiritual or divine. It's a feeling of transcendence and a loss of boundaries between the self and the world around you. Okay? So, in other words, a mystical experience is an encounter with the divine, with God, or with a spiritual aspect. Okay, it's an encounter, and it must be personal. By the way, it's a personal experience. Number one, some characteristics include feeling a sense of unity or oneness with the cosmos, with the universe around you. You feel like you are connected to the universe or to the world around you. There's also transcendence. What does transcendence mean? In fact, this informs the idea of trance states. You transcend the limits of your physical body. Okay? The physical body, it's like they go into another dimension, or so they say. Okay? So there's unity or oneness with the universe. 2, transcendence, going beyond your physical limitations. 3, the loss of boundaries. It's like the boundaries between yourself and the outside world is lost. You feel like you're at one with it. Then number 4 is you undergo a spiritual awakening. So there's a sacred dimension, and some people say it's like they discover deeper truths. And finally, it is temporary in nature, in that it happens, the encounter is short-lived, but the impact is lasting. It will transform you. It will change either your values, your character, or your personality. That mystical experience. Okay? I needed to throw that in there. Then another definition we need to keep in mind is altered states of consciousness, which is temporary shifts in a person's normal mental state, where their sense perceptions are different from their waking states, and this is induced by hypnosis, mediation, sensory deprivation, medical conditions, or psychoactive substances. Now, let's go into the types of mystical experiences. A mystical experience can fall into 2 categories. It can either be private or group or corporate. It can either be a private mystical experience or a corporate one. So let's give some examples and maybe tell us what happened there. I can give you suggestions. Maybe you can expound on them. We have conversion experiences, like what happened to Apostle Paul. Does somebody know what the story of Apostle Paul is? What happened to Prophet Muhammad when he started the religion of Islam? He had a mystical experience. What about Buddha, the founder of Buddhism? Yeah. And John Smith of Mormonism. He also, or the Church of Latter-day Saints, he also had a mystical experience. So if anybody knows those conversion stories, please explain to us what they mean. And there's also what happens in worship. Some of you are former Christians. When people are arrested by the Spirit, what happens? Please tell us. We are just describing, okay? What about near-death experiences? What happens? What about visions or dreams? Yeah? So any of those. Let's have some hands being raised. Tell us what happens in those situations, or what happened if it was a historical event. Oh yeah, and there was this one of the sun at Fatima in Portugal, and also Saint Teresa of Avila. That was another mystical experience. So if anybody knows of those examples, please raise your hands. Yes, I see Morioki. Go ahead, Morioki.
Okay, thanks, Tokas. If somebody survives a sickness, is that part of this? You are ill, then you didn't die. You in a car crash where people died and you didn't die. Is that part of this? Thanks.
No, it is not unless the person says they experienced God or Jesus or something divine. Yeah. But if you just survived, people survive. But if they say during the car crash, they experienced Jesus, then yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Great. I see Bill's hand is up. Go ahead, Bill.
So I think on one of the mystical experience that one of the things that most people will classify as a mystical experience that I've experienced numerous times is deja vu, and I think there are multiple explanations in my opinion for why they occur. Because a friend of mine was telling me that she suspects that it's because we had a previous life, so we are reliving the moments that we had in the previous life. That's why we can remember having that experience without actually having had them before. So I think the possible reason for this happening could be it could be the tendency for humans to create connections between to see patterns. So once you start seeing a pattern in an environment, you feel that you have seen a similar pattern before. It doesn't have to be like a one-on-one duplication, but your mind will interpret it as something that has already occurred before. So you'll interpret it as something that like in your mind will feel like I've already been in this situation before, and then you'll think Komba you are experiencing deja vu. That's my take. Yeah.
Aha. Bill has given an example and of deja vu, and its linkage with past lives, especially those who believe in reincarnation. And he's given an explanation. What is it called? A natural explanation, a materialistic explanation of deja vu. Great. Next is Chilwip.
I think a prominent example of mystical experience, since the definition you gave was very potent and extreme, like I think you're looking for the stronger examples, would be speaking in tongues, because preachers believe that the Holy Spirit has taken over them and is speaking through them. And yeah, they would classify that as a mystical experience because it's, it's, as you put it, the connection with the divine becoming one, and it lasts a short time but has a long impact. And I think it's more prominent amongst certain features, like, they say you have to have like a high level of spiritual faith to have the gift of speaking in tongues. Even if to us atheists we know that speaking in tongues is just gibberish, but yeah.
Yes, indeed. That is used as a filtering mechanism for many churches. They give you privileges if you can speak in tongues. You seem more spiritual when you can speak in tongues, according to them. Yes, thank you for that. That's a very relevant example. Is anybody familiar with the John Smith story for Latter-day Saints, or Apostle Paul's conversion story from Saul to Paul, or Buddha, yeah, or Prophet Muhammad, when he was visited by Angel Gabriel? Is anybody familiar with the story of the sun, seeing the sun at Fatima in Portugal, that group that was waiting, it was, I think, in the 15th century, they were waiting for, no, the 18th century, they were waiting for God to visit them, and the sun moved in Portugal. Yeah, that was a mystical experience. Is anybody familiar with any of those? Or people who have trance states? Anybody familiar with those? Great, I see more hands are up. I think it is Morioki first, and then Bill. Yes, Morioki, go ahead.
Thanks, Doctors. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Buddha is the one who saw people suffering. Buddha, he saw
Yes.
how people suffer. So his thinking changed. His view of life changed. Yeah. So and I think Buddha is. I find it very realistic. I find it more real than other religions. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. We'll look at the positive effects of some of these mystical experiences. But that is Morioki's perspective. We're looking at examples of mystical experiences. We're looking at examples of them. And as I said, conversion experiences tend to be included Prophet Muhammad, John Smith of the Latter-day Saints, Apostle Paul, and the Buddha are some examples. Yes, I see Bill's hand is up. Go ahead, Bill.
So I think others are just con men. So like Kina Nani, Muhammad, and the Latter-day Saints. I think those ones are people who wanted to use other people's susceptibility to lies, to lies, and to believing in a deity to manipulate them. I don't like, and then people took that for it. It's like how this Shakahola guy used religion to manipulate people or to kaenjadi wakufe. Yeah, something like that.
So Bill is giving his perspective on what those conversion experiences, those mystical experiences mean. But I will get to that. We just wanted to describe, first of all, at this point, we are just describing. Yes, Chilwe's hand is up again. Yes, go ahead, Chilwe.
Yes, I think I remember the story of Paul. So it was back when he was called Saul and he was persecuting the Jews. I think he was on his way to Damascus. And then he saw a bright light that blinded him. And I think it was Jesus saying, like, why do you persecute my followers or something like that? And from there he converted. And I just wanted to add, I think prayer can also be counted as a mystical experience, specifically when it comes to people saying that they hear the voice of God. I think every single Christian has said that, oh, I prayed and God told me this. I felt that God was leading me here or telling me this. That's something that's a very common theme when it comes to people refusing to convert or believe in atheism. They say that, oh, I've prayed to God myself. I have a relationship with God. And they tell you religion is something you have to experience for yourself. Like, you can't just quote unquote read about it, but they say, try praying to God and talk to him. You'll hear his voice. So I think I would still count that as being supernatural because God is said not to be a material being.
Yes, indeed. When you pray and you perceive it as though God has spoken to you or you have seen God, or Jesus or some divine figure in your response, then that qualifies. And especially if that moment, that experience is transformative for the person. Because as we defined a mystical experience, it must be profound and it must be transformative. If it's just a regular thing, it's just a regular prayer, you pray that you will find parking at the parking lot or you'll find your keys, that's not a mystical experience. But if it was profound, something major, like so out of the ordinary, and it transformed your character, and you felt like you heard from God directly, then it will qualify as a mystical experience. Great, thank you. Those are great examples. Let me add a few more, and then now we can look at how to induce mystical experiences. So, in the example of the conversion experience, Prophet Muhammad of Islam says that he was visited by Angel Gabriel, who came to him and gave him a message. Tehuti, your mic is on. Please mute. Thank you. Am I an admin? Please make me a co-host, so that I can also mute people. Yes, as I was saying, Prophet Muhammad got a visit from Angel Gabriel, who gave him a message from Allah, from God, and the message marked the beginning of Islam. It was predominantly speaking against idolatry, because there was a lot of idolatry, a lot of worship of many gods in the environment which Prophet Muhammad belonged to. So yes, he got that revelation. And it is said that during that encounter, he was making camel noises and he was foaming at the mouth and he fell down. It was almost as though he had a seizure, right, during that encounter. And then now he started having people write down the message from God, which became the Quran. Yeah. And after that, Muhammad started a new religion, which he claimed has the last prophet. So we had that. John Smith of the Church of Latter-day Saints also had such an encounter. He says he was visited first by Jesus, and Jesus talked about the sins being forgiven, and then after that, we had an angel called Moroni, who told him that there's a message from God that is in the form of some gold tablets, and the tablets are found in a hill somewhere close to where John Smith stays. So he went, he was revealed, or the angel revealed where those tablets, those gold tablets are. Then he went and got them, and they were written in some Egyptian language. And John Smith started translating the golden tablets into English. And when people started looking for those golden tablets, John Smith was giving them excuses. He was telling them that Angel Moroni said only he can access the golden tablets. It was a very convoluted story. Apostle Paul Chilwave has described it. The Buddha also had a similar experience during his journey on the concept of suffering. Then we had this one, which is very interesting, by people in Portugal. I think it was in the 18th century. They were little kids. They were maybe not kids per se, but maybe preteens, but they were underage. They were minors. They said that they they have a message for the people that God is going to show himself on a certain day, on a certain day at a certain time. And that information was spread around the country. It was caught by newspapers, major publications at the time, and because they were very superstitious and very religious, they believed those kids, and they spread the message that God was going to show himself on that day. So on that particular day, people came out in a certain venue. They came out and they were waiting for God to reveal himself, and they were all staring at the sun. They stared at it for a very long time, and after staring at it, they started saying that the sun was moving. There were different accounts. Some said that it was moving in a zigzag fashion. Others said it was still, but it changed colors. It was purple, it was pink. Others said that it came very close. There were very divergent reports on this appearance, this manifestation of God. And then they claimed that there were some miracles that happened after that revelation, that mystical experience. There have been other mystical experiences, public ones. In the public, we've had the medieval case of nuns that were meowing. They were removing the sound made by cats, and they're just going on and on and on uncontrollably. Yeah. We've had instances of people who've had near-death experiences, or like that one Morioki was saying, of an accident where you almost die, and then you encounter God. You see Jesus, you see Buddha, you see Prophet Muhammad, or you see somebody else, and it changes you forever. Your perspective on life becomes very different. And then we've also had people who see visions, or they had a very lucid dream of God or the supernatural, or they had that encounter, and it changed them for life. So yeah, those are the types. Now let's look at the next question, which is, can you induce them through religious rituals or other rituals? Can you induce mystical experiences? For those who know about speaking in tongues, how can people speak in tongues? Yeah. How does it get to that level? Or that experience of the outer body experience, can you induce it? Can you induce that feeling? Are there other physical ways of doing it? What about meditation? Are there any rituals that are done in order to create that outcome? Please don't be shy. Don't be shy on that. Yes, I see Morioki. Go ahead, Morioki.
For me, I think meditation helps to relax the mind. So for me, meditation is somewhat realistic. Like if you're in a quiet place with no sound, with nature, you close your eyes, you go into deep thought. So that somehow has an effect on the mind, I believe. Thanks.
Meditation is one example, and it works by altering your state of mind according to Morioki. Yes, we have Chilwith. Go ahead.
Yes, I think drugs can also alter your state of mind and might trigger belief in some of these mystical experiences.
Drugs. Native Americans are known to take some drugs. Is it peyote? What there's a name? There's a name associated with them. The Rastafarians take ganja. Meditation, legalize it, don't criminalize it. So the Rastafarians also use drugs in order to achieve that mystical experience. And we've heard of people who say they saw God after taking LSD or other hallucinogenic drugs. Yes? Thank you, Chilwip. Juliana?
Yeah, so in Canada here we have the indigenous people. They have this ceremony they call, well, I don't know what the ceremony is called, but they build these places called sweat lodges. So it is it is a structure that's built. They put in a lot of heat, a lot of steam comes in. You're literally going there with as little clothes as possible. You're staying in there for hours and you're sweating it out. And they believe, and some of them say, as they sweat out, as the experience, as the mind goes, all of a sudden the body changes to an animal, or they feel like they've changed to an eagle or a fox. So it's a way of cleansing and a way of transforming to another form. And by the time they come out there, they're supposed to have been cleansed or spiritual or something. So it's something they do as part of that. So that's, I guess, one way of getting into that altered state, just from the physical environment and how it is set up. Yeah.
They change into an animal. Very interesting. Yes, the native Canadians, Native Americans are known for that. I would also add, on top of what you guys have said, fasting. When you deprive your brain of the necessary nutrients it needs to function, it is likely to give you that impression of a mystical experience. Fasting. That Saint Teresa of Avila, this was a Spanish nun who says that she had a mystical experience, and even it got to a point where sometimes they claim, you see, they are not verified, these things. They claim that she would levitate, that she was that much into God, the mystical experience was so much that she would levitate. Saint Teresa of Avila, yeah. But many people, including Catholic leaders, doubted her because they understood that she was suffering from the lack of food. She was fasting for a very long periods of time, even immense pain. It's like your body zones out, which is also something Saint Teresa was suffering from because she had malaria. And back in the day, they didn't have a cure for it. What else? What are the examples? Okay, before I give my other examples, I'm seeing Chilwave's hand is up. Maybe you've remembered something. Chilwave, go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if you've heard of sleep paralysis. It's normally this phenomenon where you see your body secretes this hormone or this chemical when you're asleep that paralyzes you so you don't move while you dream. But sometimes it's possible to wake up and you're still paralyzed. And most people report seeing a demon sitting on their chest, and that's what's preventing them from moving. If you Google like the sleep paralysis demon, you will see what I mean. And I've just found out that it's possible to intentionally increase your chances of experiencing sleep paralysis. So there are 4 methods. There is sleep disruption, going to sleep and waking up repeatedly or deliberately interrupting your sleep cycle, like the wake back to bed method. There is sleep deprivation. Being very tired can increase the odds. There is lying on your back. Many people report that sleep paralysis is more common while lying face up, and maintaining awareness while your body falls asleep. This is called the wake-induced lucid dream, aka wild method, where you keep your mind awake as your body drifts off to sleep. That said, sleep paralysis can be frightening, especially because of hallucinations, like sensing a presence or feeling pressure on your chest. So, yeah.
The sleep demon. Sounds scary. But yeah, you given some very good points there, including sleep deprivation. Many people who haven't slept for very long, they start seeing things. They start encountering, quote unquote, the divine. Yes, I was also giving more examples of how to induce a mystical experience. And in the church, I know many of us who are former Christians. In the church, you can do it through dancing, dancing or singing. Then there is also chanting, and something called glossolating, where you just start making sounds which might not be comprehensive. They don't make any sense, but you're just letting loose. Yeah, you're letting loose, and eventually that sends the message to the brain that you're having a mystical experience. I remember I have spoken in tongues. Even now I can speak in tongues. Reketere bakashika rabasa. Posikiteri basarabekachika. Imusika taraba yeke. Hasakatara de rikitiri bosa. You just let your tongue loose. And you just let out the sounds that come out. It's called glossolating. And as you continue to do that, you start to feel this sense of awe, like it's something otherworldly. Yeah. So there's that physical element of speaking in tongues, of chanting, repeating the same thing. We love you, Jesus. We love you, Lord. Yes, Lord. Thank you, Lord. You are mighty. You are holy. You are holy. You are holy. You repeat it over and over and over again until you feel like you are having that encounter with that so-called Jesus. So chanting, repeating the same thing over and over again is a way to induce a mystical experience. Then there's also auto-suggestion or even hypnosis, although there's debate on whether hypnosis is true or not. But hypnotic induction, you suggesting to somebody, priming somebody, telling them that the Lord is going to visit you today. You're going to have an encounter with the Holy Ghost in this service right now. God is going to come from heaven. He's going to pour his spirit right now. Open your heart right now. So they are priming you, they're priming you, they are priming you. Eventually, other people start falling. Even you fall down. Okay? And you end up falling down. Or there are other people that have manifested different ways of having the Holy Spirit. They can start laughing. I saw that in a service at some point. People were laughing. There was another one where people were shaking, like they were shivering. The pastor was shivering. Everybody was shivering. So that auto-suggestion, hypnotic induction can induce a mystical experience. Great. Let's proceed to the next question. What do you think are the benefits? What are the positive effects of having a mystical experience? When Apostle Paul encountered that mystical experience, or when somebody has a near-death experience or an outer body experience, and their characters, their personality changes, they feel like they're at one with the universe. What is the positive effect of that? Let's be objective. I know most of us are skeptical towards this thing, but let's be objective and say, and start with the positive first before we get to the negative effects. Great. I see Bill's hand is up. Go ahead, Bill.
I think it gives people hope, and it can also influence positive change, like leaving addiction. I heard that having a mystical experience has been linked to um overcoming nicotine addiction. Yeah.
Yes, behavior change. Positive behavior change is one positive outcome of a mystical experience. Morioki, go ahead.
Thanks, Tokas. For me, anything positive is cancelled out because it's based on delusion. So for me, any positive thing will be cancelled out because of the fact of the delusion factor. So I don't know. I don't know if that's positive at all because there's a delusion there, big delusion there. So it's just cancelled out. It's just negative to me. Thanks.
I hear you, Morioki. This is kind of like the discussion we had during the video shoot, where ex-Pastor Stano was asking us, what are some positive attributes of Jesus? And I was like, it's like asking the Jews, what are positive attributes of Hitler? It's hard. Yeah, I hear you. Is there any other person with positive before we go to negative? Because I know you are all itching to talk about the negative effects. Bill, is your hand up for positive or negative? If it's for negative, just is it positive?
Yes.
Okay, if it's positive, go ahead.
Okay. So it's not really about. Okay. So I wanted to like speak to Murioki a bit. So I think when you're talking about something, like we can talk about the impact and the cause, some of the reason. So something can have a positive impact despite the cause being negative. So we I think we should appreciate that the impact is positive. Like when we talk about maybe giving someone hope, it's a positive thing, despite the reason for that thing happening being negative. That we should be able to look at these things separately. Like we should be able to distinguish between the impact and the motivation. So maybe the motivation might be good, but the impact is negative. That does not take away from the motivation being good. And similarly, the impact might be negative with the motivations being being faulty. It does not take away from the impact being positive. So on that, like I think it gives people hope. Now the hope is a good thing. I don't think like we can dispute that. But hope is a good. It's good to have hope. Now if the hope is based um on a faulty basis, the basis is wrong, and it is indefensible. But the outcome is still positive. That's my opinion on that.
Morioki wanted to respond.
Yeah, I just want to tell him some of us don't believe in hope even. We don't even believe in hope. So it's just off. There's no hope for some of us. Hope is just a delusion in the mind.
Oh gosh, Bill, you picked the wrong guy to debate that issue with. Yeah,
There's no hope.
Morioki doesn't believe in hope. Moroki doesn't believe in hope. But I hear you, Bill. I think this is the position of a pragmatist. A pragmatist is somebody who looks at the fruits of something rather than the roots. Of course, I disagree with having such a narrow focus on something, but I also understand where they're coming from. So you look at the outcome of something without necessarily concentrating on its cause. That's what a pragmatist does. And in this area, there's a philosopher called William James, who was of that opinion that mystical experiences are delusional, according to him, but they have some positive effects. So that was William James' perspective. So yes, it's important to try and be neutral when discussing these topics. Even if you belong to a certain camp, you still need to acknowledge if there's any positive impact, you need to acknowledge it. Yes, Chilwave, go ahead.
Yeah, just echoing what's already been said in terms of providing people hope. I know that people who pray and when they believe they're hearing God's voice, it gives them a lot of comfort. Sometimes they believe God is telling them that everything will be okay, or that if they're sick, they're going to be healed. And we forgot to mention some of the non-Christian aspects of mystical experiences. Like, for example, people who try to communicate with the dead, like through fortune tellers. I mean, the fortune teller is scamming them, but they believe they're actually talking to the dead. Like, I don't know if you've seen those movies where, like, there's a fortune teller with the, what do they call it? Those crystal balls, and then they say, "Oh, I can see your dead aunt, and this is what she's telling you." And yeah, so they get closure. They ask questions to the supposed dead relative or friend, and they get closure from what the fortune teller tells them. So yeah, I think that can be comforting. I think even some dreams that people have, like someone can dream that a relative that has passed on is in heaven and that they're happy, and that gives them a lot of comfort. Or when someone is stranded, like in the wilderness, they can be dehydrated and hallucinate that they see their family, and the family tells them they have to keep going. So yeah, I think some of these delusions, some of these beliefs that we have can push us forward, even though they may not be true. So, as you said, pragmatism at the end of the day is still beneficial, though we're suggesting there are better methods of arriving at the same conclusion, but pragmatism is better than nothing.
Absolutely, comfort especially surrounding lost loved ones. Right, now let's go to the negative effects. Because many of us were itching to mention them. Negative effects of mystical experiences. Let's remember the types, those conversion experiences. Prophet Muhammad, after he says he was visited by Angel Gabriel and he was told to start a new religion, what are the negative effects of such a mystical experience, or the negative effects of the mystical experience by John Smith, who started the cult of Mormonism? What about that so-called the sun at Fatima in Portugal, right? Where people saw the sun, that the sun moved, it came close to them or it changed. And they claimed that there were miracles that happened. after? What are some negative effects of that? What are some negative effects of the visions and dreams that people have? Yes, let's look at them. Great, let's start with Morioki.
Let's talk. For me, I think you lose yourself. You forget about how powerful you are. Like when people say, "To God be the glory," it should be to me be the glory. Or I can do all things through Christ. Should be I can do all things through me, not Christ. So you lose your inner power. You forget how powerful you really are. Thanks.
Aha, the loss of sense of agency. That is Morioki's contribution. By the way, I forgot to add this for positive effects. I needed to add that it can be, besides transforming behavior, which Bill noted, a mystical experience can trigger a sense of contentment. There are people after they undergo like a near-death experience and they saw Jesus, after that, they stop wanting, they stop chasing after money or fame or vain pleasures, and they become content with their lot in life. In as much as sometimes I have problems with that contentment. You should want to be better in life, but there's a way contentment gives you a sense of peace and acceptance of your overall situation in life. It just makes life easier. You're not just fighting, always going against the tide. You're content and you're peaceful. Especially that Saint Teresa of Avila, she was experiencing all this pain from malaria, but she was able to overcome it. Like she was able to look beyond it and find peace. Another positive effect is connectedness. You feel connected to people and you are tempted to become a good person. So yeah, those are the positive effects. So let's get to the negative effects. Let's go to Chilwave.
Yeah, I think one of the negative effects, ironically, is chasing these mystical experiences through dangerous means. So, for example, traditionally, people like shaman, they're probably taking drugs every day just so they can have these mind-altering experiences, and it ends up ruining their minds and their brains and their bodies. And people who take drugs like LSD or DMT or even ganja, like all of that. So people who try to induce these spiritual or mystical experiences can be detrimental and unsafe for their health. Even we saw earlier with the sleep paralysis, how it now leads to hallucinations. So, if you have psychosis, that could end up being like a long-term thing. So, yeah, I think the irony is in chasing those experiences, it turns out to be worse for them.
Oh, yes. Mystical experiences are addictive. They are like a high. It's like when you have a climax during sex, that sensation almost mimics what you feel when you have a mystical experience, and you're always longing for it, you're always chasing it, and it has effects on your mental health. It can trigger psychosis, or if you had a mental health problem, it can be untreated because people will confuse it for a mystical experience. That is very problematic. Great. What about others? Negative experiences, guys? Remember those conversion experiences by Apostle Paul, John Smith, Mohammed, Prophet Mohammed, Buddha. What are the effects of those experiences? Bill, your hand was up.
So I think the positive experience, the positive effects are also the negative ones. In that, so for instance, when you talk about hope, so it gives people false hope, and therefore they stop seeking actual remedies because they're focusing, they're placing all their hope, um, all their hope, their efforts on these mystical experiences instead of looking for solutions to their problem. Another negative effect is that the people who don't experience this, who don't have these experiences, end up feeling like they're less. So let's say like you go to church and you are a believer, and all your mates are are speaking in tongues and falling and having all these experiences, but you don't. So you are pretending, but you are very aware by you how feel those things that other people are feeling. So it makes you feel like maybe I'm not as blessed as other people. I'm not as pure as other people who are in this church. I'm not going to love me as much as the other people. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. It can be very isolating for those who don't have the mystical experience. And you keep asking, why is God playing favorites? So let me add some more negative experiences or negative effects of mystical experiences. Irrational thinking. It makes you believe that the divine will intervene in your situation, and you go around expecting that, and you make decisions based on that idea, which is definitely not a good thing. It sets the stage for the formation of cults and religions. Islam would not have existed if Prophet Muhammad did not have that mystical experience, that visit from Angel Gabriel. Islam would not have existed. And by extension, all the problems that come from a religion are effects of mystical experiences. For instance, learned helplessness. I think Morioki mentioned this. You become passive in your life because you think that God will visit you personally and He'll intervene. You start to revere a charismatic person now, like Prophet Muhammad or like John Smith or Apostle Paul or Buddha. Even though they don't worship those people per se, they have an unquestioning obedience to them, even when those people teach bad things. For instance, Prophet Muhammad taught that it is okay, and in fact, he recommended that you batter your wife when she doesn't obey you, simply because he had a mystical experience and was speaking on behalf of God. Or Buddha. By the way, people paint Buddhism in such a positive light. Buddhism also had misogynistic undertones because Buddha was saying that women should not be given leadership positions. Yes, at the time, there was a patriarchal nature in that environment. So people just unquestioningly follow some of these charismatic leaders. There's exploitation, financial or time exploitation by people who have those mystical experiences. They charge you for sharing the insights that they have from the mystical experiences. There is also infringement of your freedom because the person is claiming to speak on behalf of God. If it was a conversion experience, they're speaking on behalf of God, and some of these things they tell you will infringe on your freedom. They'll tell you don't eat this, don't eat pork, don't show your hair. Yeah, all of those they are claiming came from a revelation from God, and you literally alter the way you live your life simply because somebody had a mystical experience, and that is a net negative for society, as I think it was Bill pointed out. It promotes an us versus them mentality, because you are convinced by the person with the mystical experience that their mystical experience is the one true one. All others are false. Like with Prophet Muhammad, he said there will be no other prophets after him. And so that's where this idea of jihad came about. If you reject the message of Islam, you will be violently attacked for it. And even if it's not violent, there's just this us versus them mentality that, oh, us, we believe in the message of our pastor. He had a divine encounter with God, and he says that that women are never supposed to wear makeup, and God told him that we should seclude ourselves. So anybody else who doesn't adhere to your narrow sect or your cult ideologies becomes an enemy. So it promotes divisions, and also the use of fear tactics. So those are some negative effects. Lastly, we are moving on well. Doctors will sleep early. As I said, I'm not feeling well. I need a lot of sleep. So it's good that we have gone to the last question, which is, does a religious or mystical experience prove God? Does it prove? If somebody says, me, I saw Jesus. Me, I experienced Prophet Muhammad. He visited me. Or I saw Virgin Mary. Does that mean that God exists? If not, why? What are some other scientific or logical explanations for a personal, religious, mystical experience? Yes, Bill, go ahead.
I think they would prove God if they did not have the naturalistic explanations. The issue is that they do. There wouldn't be like sufficient proof, but they'll bring someone's the probability of God existing. They will increase the probability of God existing if they were true. Yeah.
Aha. The fact that there are alternative naturalistic explanations negates the need to invoke the supernatural, as Bill has said. Yes, Murioki, go ahead.
Thanks, Dr. I'll be very brief. For me, of course not, and it's all in the mind. Yeah, of course not, and it's all in the mind. Thanks.
Morioki, a man of few words. It's all in the mind. It's very important, by the way, what you said. Well, it's all in the mind. If it's an issue that is taking place in the mind, let's look for explanations that are in the mind. It's not something that we're observing outside. If we observed God, if we saw Jesus ourselves, other people, everybody else saw Jesus, or everybody saw the Virgin Mary, then that will be a different ballgame. But it's just you. You are the one who is seeing it in your mind. So we cannot go outside the mind to find an explanation. We need to find the explanation within the mind. Great. Thank you, Morioki, the man of few words. Next is Chilwe.
I think an example of a mystical experience that would prove the possibility of a supernatural occurrence or a deity is, let's say you had a person who believes that a deity appeared to them and gave them a prophecy, and that prophecy turned out to be very accurate. Like, for example, saying, oh, this person will die at exactly 12 p.m. tomorrow, midnight, or something like that, or 20 years from now, something like that. And he's going to die by getting hit by a bus, something very, very specific. Um, and I think there was a video I'd seen on how to tell if a prophecy is real or not. And one of the criteria is that people shouldn't be actively trying to fulfill the prophecy. So it shouldn't be that, oh, we predict that he's going to be hit by a bus and now people start trying to hit him with a bus. So, yeah, I think there were prophecies that we could scrutinize to see that this has a very, like, the standard deviation is not that much from the norm, that it's actually accurate, then I think that would be a bit more convincing evidence for me, and I would give more credence to that person.
So he says that those mystical experiences, they fail the verification test. When the rubber meets the road, they don't even have specific prophecies. Yes, let's hear from others. This is the last question we are answering. Do mystical experiences prove God? When somebody says they had a vision where they saw Jesus, does that prove that Jesus exists? When somebody tells you verbally, me, I saw Jesus, and there's nothing you can tell me about the ontological argument or the cosmological argument, me, I saw Jesus. So is that proof that Jesus exists? Yes, El Maestro, go ahead.
Yes, I hope you are all fine. You know, this topic, as you said, it is a bit technical. That's why I've not answered most of the questions. But on this one, I can easily answer it. This one, you know, so if you come and tell me, I don't know, you saw Jesus, and I don't know, I cannot tell you anything. Someone can also say, I saw Allah. Someone can also say, I saw Zeus, I saw who, and you cannot tell me anything. Those are hallucinations, or just that what we call lying for Christ, or lying for who. Yeah. People can just lie. You know, they are religious folk. They can lie for absolutely, or they can lie for this, for the agenda about this religion to be, to go on. Yeah. They can lie for religion. They can make any lie, anything up, just for them to prove their God is the true God, or their God exists. So someone telling us, I don't know, I saw those are hallucinations, or that lies, does not prove the existence of that God of theirs. Those are hallucinations. If he thinks this was Jesus, he was just hallucinating, or if he or hallucinating, or is just playing lies, and most of the time it is lying. That lying.
According to El Maestro, either they're mistaken because of mental health issues, they had a hallucination, or they are just crooks. Like that John Smith, okay, the John Smith for Latter-day Saints, that guy was a fraud. He was just making ish up in order to gain power and money. Right, I see Bill's hand is up, then we'll go to JW. Yes, Bill?
Hello.
Bill, Yes, we can hear you.
So on Maestro's point, I think like if someone experiences has those experiences and maybe has seen Jesus ama kitu kama hiyo, I think that can be sufficient proof for him to believe, but it's not sufficient proof for us to believe. In that the person who has had that experience and believes combat it was accurate will be right to believe, but it will not be right for him to expect others to believe based on his experiences. Like that was good. Let us say I pray right now for God to appear to me and tell me combat exists. That's enough proof for me to exist, for me to believe. But that I should not. It is unfair and unreasonable for me to expect you to believe that I saw God. Yeah.
Wonderful. Very well said. A Damascus experience should have been given to every single Christian. Every single person should have encountered Jesus the way Saul encountered him in order to become Apostle Paul. So because I've not had that experience, then it would be unfair for you to expect me to believe in that God. Great. Next is JW.
Yeah. Hi, Dorcas and everyone. This is a very, very interesting discussion. The question on the table, if I can recall, is if someone tells me they've seen Jesus Christ, can I believe that Jesus Christ exists? Well, believe it or not, I can believe, but on one condition. Especially these days, where everybody and their dog and cat have a cell phone. I'll tell the person, if you saw Jesus, did you take a video or a picture of you and him? If you do that, I will absolutely believe that you saw Jesus. Otherwise, it will just be like what I think El Maestro and Bill have said. It's all in the mind. I believe that you saw Jesus Christ, but I'll believe that you saw Jesus Christ because now you can take a video, you can take a picture using your cell phone, showing proof that you saw him.
Wonderful. Yes, evidence. If you cannot give me evidence, then please shut your mouth. Yes, spot on, Juliana. So let me give mine, and then we can call it a night. I would obviously agree with all of you that experiencing Jesus, experiencing God is not proof that God exists. Simply because of what Juliana just said, there is no evidence. We cannot verify what you encountered. There's no evidence. It's just a story in your head. Now, I'll reiterate some of the points that you guys have mentioned, like the first one by Bill, where he said the fact that there are physical explanations for why somebody would have a mystical experience means we can be satisfied with the physical explanations without resorting to supernatural explanations, because we don't have evidence for the supernatural. So we go with what is available, which is the natural. And those physiological explanations include taking drugs, what Chilwe described, glossolating, chanting, or meditating, fasting, depriving your brain of oxygen. All of those can induce a mystical experience. Then number two is the idea of psychological explanations. They can also be understood from that perspective. It's not that God exists because you saw him. There are also other psychological reasons why you claim to have seen God. One of them is mass hysteria. It is possible for people to have mass hysteria, like that example I gave of the sun at Fatima in Portugal, where they claimed that the sun moved. It moved closer to the earth. That was mass hysteria. Or the nuns that were having that meowing sound. It's just mass hysteria. It's something to do with the human brain. The human brain is so weak and so suggestible. So that's how we explain it. It's not God. It is just a problem with our brain. Or there could be what I said before, priming, auto-suggestion, hypnotic induction. You prime people, you say, the Holy Spirit is going to visit you today. He's coming into this building right now. If you open your heart, you will receive the Holy Spirit. So you've been primed, and you're expecting it, and before you know it, you're right at the altar, pop, you fall over because of that priming. It's something that our brains tend to do, especially when we are in a group. Yeah. Another one is what El Maestro said, hallucinations. Hallucinations can also be occurring. You can be having a hallucination, and you are thinking this is Jesus, but it's not. You're having a mental breakdown, or you're having psychosis. Yeah. Or just a hallucination. Maybe it's not even pegged to something like a mental health issue, but at that moment, like when you are about to die in an accident, and then you see Jesus at that point, it is because your brain is short-circuiting. The neurochemicals at that point are rewiring because they are trying to preserve your life. And that can lead to a hallucination. You can have a hallucination of Jesus. It's not really that Jesus occurred. So I do not deny the person that they had an experience. Yes, they had the experience, but I cannot verify it. You've not given me evidence. So that's reason number 2. Number 3, I would ask them a logical question. Why is Jesus, or why is God playing favorites? Why is he picking only Apostle Paul, or only my pastor to appear to, or only a few people to appear to? Why is he not appearing to everybody? If God appeared to every single human being, then we would close the case. There'd be no debate. But he's just appearing to a few people. It doesn't make sense. If he's a universal God, and if this claim was true, he would appear to everyone. So that fact that he's playing favorites is a case against mystical experiences proving God. Number 4 is, okay, what I said, there's no evidence. This is something that's happening in the mind. Number 5 is a rebuttal. Most people who give that explanation of mystical experiences, they tell you, but many people have seen God. They've seen Jesus. They've had those personal experiences. Those are very many people. Those are testimonies. Those are personal testimonies that you can't ignore. But you see, at the end of the day, there is no evidence. And popularity doesn't mean that it's true. Many people can believe a delusion until we can see evidence for that idea. Then there's no conviction, there's no reason to believe it. So when these people keep saying, oh, many people have had mystical experiences of Jesus, that doesn't turn it into truth. That's just testimonial evidence, the worst form of evidence. The best form of evidence is physical evidence. And lastly is the idea of pattern seeking. We are pattern seeking creatures, and we tend to look for explanations for things that we don't understand. Our brain is complex, and there can be instances where it does something weird. Like Chilwell said, when you are sleeping, when you're having, you are calling it what, Chilwell, that sleep thing?
Sleep paralysis.
Yes. So when you're having sleep paralysis, and you're feeling that demon. The demon is there. Like you really feel like it's there. It's so strong. It feels real. Unfortunately, that is just pattern seeking behavior. You're trying to rationalize something mysterious. Just this concept of it being a mystery. If it's a mystery, then why slap a label on it? It means you don't understand it, so let it be that. Yes. So that is what I would say on mystical experiences. I don't know if there's anybody with an additional closing remark, but that was the last question. Yes, Morioki, go ahead.
Thanks, Douglas. I don't know if this counts. I know of a lady, she was tired of life. So they're in a car. Then the driver hit a kid by mistake. And the kid died. And the kid died, unfortunately. The kid died. And the kid had a last name. So she said there's a spirit chasing her. After a few days, she died in an accident. So I don't know if that counts as this, because the kid had a last name. Then he said that there's a spirit chasing her. Then after a few days, she died in a car crash. So I don't know if that counts in this discussion. I'm just asking.
Okay, what do we think of Morioki's question? He's given us an anecdote, an example. There, let's hear your perspectives. Yes, ex-Pastor Stano, go ahead.
Mine is just a question about those who sleep, but while dreaming, they walk away. They start walking around, went on the street. What about that?
Another question. So Morioki has a question and ex-Pastor Stano has a question. Yes, I see Amanda's hand is up. Welcome, Amanda. You came in late when we are finishing the meeting. But go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First of all, to answer Muriuki's question, I think it's just either coincidence, or I've read about something that if sometimes you can will something with your mind. I need to read more about it. I don't know. Maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. If you will something, if you think about something a lot, it comes to reality, or it's something to do with the brain. So I need to read more about it, maybe so that I can give more perspective on it. But that's what I thought. It happens even in matters of faith. Like if you believe something is gonna be the way you believe a lot, you tend to act towards the way you do things, you tend to do them in a way that is gonna make that thing come true. For example, if you believe that you're gonna get a job, you act in a way that is going to make you put you in a position that you're likely to get a job, but you don't know. Like if you're in church, then you believe like, okay, I believe I'm going to get a job, I'm going to be employed. So you start acting in a way that you're likely to be employed, but you don't know. Now, if it happens, you'll start saying, oh, it was God, oh, it was Jesus answered my prayers, oh, blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. But it's just you acted, you applied for that job. Maybe you did something, you did this, you did that, you updated your CV and all that, you sent, you see, but you never give yourself credit. You'll start saying, oh, I thank God I got this job. It's just the same. If you believe something, like maybe you believe I'm going to die or something, maybe you start being careless or something. Unatembea, you just paranoid, you're not even concentrating on the road. Most likely utagongwa na gari. So I think if we believe something, we start acting in a way that is gonna make that dream come true. I think it's called dream fulfilling theory or something. It's by Plato. About your last question, I wanted to comment that what was it? What was the last question? Sorry.
The last question was, does experiencing God prove that God exists? If you have a mystical experience, you say you saw Jesus, does that mean that Jesus exists?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So in that, I wanted to add that it doesn't necessarily prove God exists because, first of all, that those experiences are usually not universal. Like we have so many religions. We have Hindu, we have Muslims. All these people usually claim they have seen God in one way or another, but the experiences are not universal. And their gods, they usually also say they're different gods. Oh, Christians are not worshiping the same God. Oh, so you see, these experiences, I don't know why they don't consider that when they're talking to each other. Those people who are like who believe in one religion or another, they don't like talk to each other and have one common ground because they're not usually the same. Again, just like you said, I wanted to add it like just like you said, it's psychological. It could be what mental something mental it let me say a disorder, but for lack of a better word, let me say just say a disorder. It could be mental, yes. So it doesn't necessarily mean that God exists because these experiences are not universal, and yet they said and we have many different religions, and yet they try to say, oh, there's a supreme being, but this supreme being is not the same in all these religions. So I don't know why they expect people to believe that their different experiences mean that there's one like the God they are saying is that one God. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Sorry, Ananda. So it was
Well,
a coincidence. Sorry,
Yeah,
Ananda. It
it's
was a coincidence.
Is
Even the
that a
last name.
coincidence? Oh yeah, yes.
Even the last name. The kid had the same last name as the lady. The same last name.
I think it's just a coincidence because we all have like same names. Utapata mtu anaitwa Muriuki here, somebody else is called Muriuki. It's just a coincidence, and as I said, it's something to do with your brain. Like if you believe something is going to happen, then most likely you're gonna act in a way that is gonna make that thing happen. For example, the way you said she died in an accident, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she died in an
Yeah.
accident. So most likely she was acting in a way that is gonna make that thing occur. Maybe she was inaitwaje, she was like alikuwa careless on the road, or maybe she was paranoid. The way she's walking anakuwa paranoid, anakuwa careless. Then that happens. Like it's the way our brains are wired. If you believe something is going to happen, you start acting in a way that you're going to make that thing happen in a way. Like I just explained, if you believe you're going to get a job because you're praying, most likely you'll apply for the job, you'll go for the interview, you'll make sure you're smart. You get like you make sure you're acting in a way that you're going to get that job. So when you get that job, you just say, "Oh, God made me get that job," but it wasn't God; it was you. You should thank yourself. You should say, hey, "I thank myself for getting this job. I worked hard for it." But I don't know why people don't like giving themselves credit. So you act in a way that you're going to make that thing most likely to occur.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks.
Yes, a very elaborate explanation. I agree with you, Amanda. Next is Chilwave.
Okay, can you hear me?
Go
Yeah,
ahead, we can hear you.
so I think what Morioki is talking about is known as a post hoc fallacy or post hoc rationalization. That's when event A happens, followed by event B, and you think that just because an event follows another, that it's caused by that event. So an example would be, let's say a bell rings and then lightning strikes. So someone thinks the bell caused the lightning to strike. But since we understand physics, we know that a ringing bell does not cause lightning to strike. So that would be how I would describe the case Moriyuki talked about. Like, it's just a matter of probability and statistics that something like that would happen, but one event does not cause the other just because it happened before it. So, with what Amanda is saying, I think that's known as self-fulfilling prophecy. I think that's the term for it. And with what ex-pastor Stano was saying, I think I'd seen a documentary on it, and for those people who sleepwalk, the brains are sort of like semi-conscious. I don't know if it's like the frontal cortex or the neocortex. Like, it's meant to be like switched off, but I think it's like half on or something like that. So they're not fully aware of what they're doing. But if I find the documentary, I'll try and share it in the group.
Agreed.
Excuse
Thank
to add
you.
on that. To add on that is something that disturbed me a lot when I was in Form 2. The Form 1 was dreaming while walking at night. So for me, I was mistaken with the demons. So I could not be able to sleep. I was praying a lot for Jesus to chase away that demons. So I could not be able to sleep. While praying still, I was fearing. So those things disturbed me a lot when I was in Form 2. Yeah.
Yes, Stano, it is unfortunate that with religious beliefs, you focus on false solutions. This is a sleep disorder. The person has a sleep disorder where they sleepwalk, and it's a problem with their brain. So the right solution is to look for treatments that deal with their brain, not praying to cast away the demons. So this is the problem that I have with belief in these supernatural ideas, is that they cause you to concentrate on the wrong solution. So you stay with the problem. You don't solve it in the end. It's a pity. Next is Bill.
Yeah. So I think Muriuki had phrased this question as whether or not the experience was mystical. And I think any experience, no matter how mundane, can be classified as mystical if you think it is mystical, because it's how you interpret the event. So, for instance, um, you're going to school, and then a cat crosses, a black cat crosses in your path. Then you go to school and you have a bad day, and then you say, okay, probably it was because of the black cat. So it's something that's like normal. It's normal to have a bad day in school, but now because of sharing the bad day with the bad cat, with the cat, now it's a mystical experience. So anything, any event, no matter how mundane, can be classified as mystical depending on how you interpret it. So on the naturalistic explanation for that event, the accident, we are in Kenya, and most in certain areas, some last names are common. So, for instance, if you're in Nyanza and you're called Otieno, then you are shocked for you're shocked for finding someone else who's also called Otieno like that, or you are in Rivali and find someone else called Kiprono. It's a common name. It will have been a shocking thing, maybe like it could be more plausible for you to classify it as so if it was a strange name, like if you find a German name in Kenya and then another person with a German name, which is less likely to happen than a Kenyan last name, which are really common, especially in certain areas. So I don't think I don't think like that's a very good argument. A very great way of looking at it. Yeah. And the one that I think is it Agnes was looking for, Amanda, yeah, any self fulfilling prophecies, yeah, I'm done.
Yes, thank you, Bill, for pointing that out. It's not surprising that you can have a similar surname. What I would add, I agree with what Amanda had to say, what Chilwe had to say, and what you, Bill, have to say on that example that Morioki gave. What I would add is the issue of hallucinations as well. When people say they're seeing spirits, because she's saying that there was a spirit chasing her, sometimes when you haven't dealt with the loss of a loved one, you can start having hallucinations of the person. So you are seeing the person. It's not that the person is there, but you're seeing it. So maybe she was literally having hallucinations of that spirit. And as she was looking at the hallucinations, she felt that they were chasing her. So she was prioritizing the chasing of the spirit vis-a-vis the car, the real car. You see, when somebody has a hallucination or a mental health issue, they have difficulties distinguishing between what is real and what is not real. So the real danger was an oncoming vehicle, a fast-moving vehicle. That would have been the real danger. But the unreal danger, the one that was in her mind, was the spirit. Maybe she started seeing the hallucination and was running away from the hallucination. In the process, she was hit by a car. We've heard of people who have mental health problems, and they say that they were seeing, like there's this gentleman, I saw a documentary, he was seeing a little girl being raped violently by 10 men. So all of those were hallucinations, all those figures were hallucinations. But in order to deal with that so-called danger, he decided to burn the house, that the house would, burning the house would make those rapists go away and leave the little girl. So he burnt the house. The house is real, the fire is real, and he put some people, some real people in danger. There was no girl, there was no rapist. Those were hallucinations. But because he couldn't tell the difference, he put other people in danger. He harmed other people. So this could also be the case for this woman. She was seeing hallucinations of the spirit. She concentrated on them, on running away from the spirit, and then got knocked down by a real vehicle. So there are all these alternative explanations, all of these natural explanations on what could have happened there. Yeah, so guys, I think that is it. It's a wrap. We've exhausted all the questions. Thank you so much for your contributions. We've had Chilwave, who's given us very many insights on the types, on positive, negative effects, and also on why that is not proof for God. Thank you. Chilwe, thank you, Bill, for joining us today. It's been a very long while since we've had you in our midst, and you've been very active. You've given us a lot of insights on some of those mystical experiences. Thank you, Morioki, for your questions. And I think we had a little bit from El Maestro, also a little bit from Juliana. Thank you. Amanda joined us a little bit late, but her contribution was very impactful. I'm grateful for the discussion, guys. I wish
Thanks
you
for coming,
a good
Doka.
night.
Thanks for coming, despite being sick. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Yeah. Yes. So we'll end it early, guys, so that I can sleep. I'm not feeling well at all. But we'll meet on Sunday for the hangout. Even if I have to come in a wheelchair, I will come. See you on Sunday for the hangout. Good night.